Maayong buntag kanatong tanan. That is good morning, everyone. Today we're going to discuss a Cebuano poem entitled Ang Pansit, written by Adonis Durado. Do you like Pansit? Ha! So today we would get to know Pansit on a slightly different terms. Not just as our food, as university students who are or students who are in a hurry because we have a say 1 o'clock class or 7 o'clock class and we woke up at 6:45. We will get to know Pansit this time from the point of view of a little child. What does this child think when he sees Pansit? How can he imagine Pansit? What are the memories that are evoked by Pansit? So, sit tight and I hope you would enjoy the poem. As we begin, I hope you have already checked our like and subscribe channel. I would really love to hear from you. And also later you could put your own feedback and thoughts on our poem in the comment section. May I also remind everyone to please be respectful on the post or on the opinions of your friends or all those other who would comment. Have a good day and let's. Adonis Durado is an award winning poet, visual journalist, and graphic designer who hailed from Cebu City. He was born on August 25, 1975. He is a fine arts graduate from the University of San Carlos. He was a designer, or he is rather, a designer, illustrator, and art director. At the same time, he is a renowned poet whose poetry is both very simple. It seems simple, yet it mirrors all things that are happening in a simple, ordinary person. He lived and worked in Oman, Thailand, and the UAE. In 2017, he received the Knight Fellowship from the School of Visual Communications from Ohio University. That would give us the idea that yes, he is currently in the US of A. Sir Adonis Durado has published 4 books of Cebuano poems. In 2008, he had Dili Tanang Matagak Mahagbong, which was translated to English entitled Not All That Drops Falls by Professor Merly M. Alunan. In 2009, he had Minugbo Alang sa Mugbo ug Kalipay, which was translated by Sir Anthony L. Quintanar with the English title Shorts for the Short Joyed. In 2016, he had published Lisay Sabugan, or A Swelling in the Loins, which was translated by Miss Emmy Heidi Palapar and Sir Anthony L. Quintanar. And 2017, he had published Pahinungod sa Dihing Tungdan, which was translated to English by Marvy Hill, Gerard Pareja, Noel Villaflor, and Jeremiah Bondo with the title To Whom It May Not Concern. Pahinungod sa Dihing Tungdan was a finalist of the 2019 International Book Awards. Aside from Sir Dorado's works having won international honors from the Society for New Designs, the Society of Publication Designers, the Society of Illustrators, the Type Directors Club, he is also a very prolific writer who had received different literary awards. The ones that I have mentioned are some of his awards in his work as a designer, a graphic designer. In 2000, he won the Lacaba Prize for Cebuano Poetry. He was also awarded the Figure Prize. And then he was the Writer of the Year for Bathalad. In 2017, he was awarded the Viscom Knight Fellowship. In the same year, he was awarded NCCA Writers Prize. Despite the demanding tasks of Sir Dorado as a designer, illustrator, and art director, he continued to garner awards in the literary world. In 2019, he won the grand prize on the 39th Cebu Popular Music Festival for Hugot Pas Huot. The same year, his book To Whom It May Not Concern or The Pahinungod sa Di Hintungdan was a finalist for the International Book Award. That same year as well, he won the second prize for the first Visayan Music Awards for Balitaw. And again, on 2019, he won the Vicente Ranudo Literary Excellence Award. According to the National Artist for Literature, Sir Resil Mujares, Adonis Durado's poetry glories in the richness of folk and popular speech, earthy and playful, reckless and disciplined, vulgar and sly, comic, and, as in all good comics, subversive. But it is also poetry that is vitally current and global. He said one could imagine a Yoyoy Villamere born as a poet and graphic artist who fancies the Chirico and Mariette and reads Derrida and Zimborska. Adonis Durado is one of the most exciting poets now writing in the country, in the Philippines, in any language. So now we proceed to the poem, Ang Pansit. As we begin, may I request you to close your eyes and imagine Pansit. Is Pansit familiar to you? Can you feel its texture? Can you smell it? What are the ingredients of Pansit that you love the most? Is there any particular time that you would want to eat Pansit? There are a lot of instant Pansit now. You have your Pansit Canton, instant noodles, and in a world where everything is almost always instant, Pansit is one of those instants. Do you put calamansi? Do you associate it with any occasion? As you close your eyes now, try to smell the aroma of Pansit. Can you smell the chicken? Or perhaps it is pork that you love using in your Pansit. Can you smell the oil? Will you be able to devour a plateful of Pansit? And with such question, will you be willing to eat Pansit every day? If we are a student, we don't have much of a choice. But the following poem will tell us that Pansit could tell us a lot. Not just its smell, not just its texture, not just its ingredients. Perhaps after reading the poem, you would know that more than the texture, more than the taste, the way it was cooked can bring us to a soul of another being. Let us now open our eyes and just let the image of Pansit stay in our mind as we discuss, as we read and we discuss Sir Adonis Durado's Ang Pansit. Mahadlok ko sa una kung gutumon si Papa Ma. Can you feel the fear? It's very factual. Mahadlok ko sa una. But it was sa una pa, dili karon, dili ugma, dili kaganina, sa una, it's like a distant past. Dili na siya mukaon. No, kung gutomon, dili na hinuon mukaon. Ang platong gisudlan nimo sa sudan, mukalitlag hagtok sa imong bagol-bagol. Instead of eating, can you feel it? Do you know your bagol-bagol? The skull. Imong head. Your head. Your ulo. Imong ulo. Mukalitlag hagtok. It's onomatopoeic. You can as if hear the sound when he says, mukalitlag hagtok. Nganha sa imong bagol-bagol, agoy kasakit ba? Ug sama kaguba sa karaan natong banggita. Magita da banggera. Ang mga balikas ni Papa. Let's say, yawa, atay. Wa ka ba'y laing ipakaon nako kung di puros lang pansit? Have you seen your mom cook? Do you appreciate her cooking? If yes, good. If no, why? Well, perhaps because not everyone is really gifted with the in the kitchen. I mean, not everyone can spice up pansit like how you would want it. But we would know that it is always grateful to have something to eat when especially when we're hungry. But then this child, he cannot feel or perhaps he cannot actually enjoy pansit because every time magutom iyang papa, the father wouldn't eat. Instead, he would shout, he would curse the mother and ask the question, is there any other food? Is there no other food? Is that all that you can cook? Wala ba kay laing ipakaon nako kung dili puros lang pansit? But don't you wonder, why is the mother always offering just pansit? What's with pansit? Ah, kay mutubo ang pansit. Gamay lang imong ibutang, example the noodles, mudaghan na siya. Guba ilang banggira. Karaan, guba. Then magsigi na lag pansit. Perhaps it's hyperbolic nga magsigi na lag pansit, pero maunay na as a mind sa bata. That is what stayed in the mind of the child. Labas pa kaayo ka nako hangtod karon ma. It's still fresh until today ma. I still cannot forget it ma. It still plays in my mind ma. It's like it was just yesterday. In our language now, we haven't moved on or the child haven't moved on. We know that our speaker is a child because the child would say mama and papa. So bata siya, bata ang speaker. Ang repolyong sagol sa pansit. So labas pa kaayo ka nako hangtod karon ma ang repolyong sagol sa pansit. Repolyo, the cabbage, no? Nahinumdum pa ko sa kahumot sa hibi. You know the hibi? The dried shrimp that we buy for during our time, it's just 1 peso and it contains a lot already. One pack has a lot. But now I think the cheapest that you can buy for hibi is 10 pesos. And then, well, the Philippine peso had devalued, so prices have soared. Perhaps the hibi also have also soared. No, iya pang masimutan ang kahumot sa hibi. I love hibi because I love shrimp. I love its smell, no? Og katambok sa ginisang baboy nga nanabit sa imong buhok. So he says, labas pa kaayo ka nako hangtod karon ma. Ang repolyong sagol sa pansit. Nahinumdum pa ko sa hibi, sa humot sa hibi, ug tambok sa ginisang baboy nga nanabit sa imong buhok. Can you imagine your mom standing in front of you? Now we would joke the crown is kalabasa, nangurona og kalabasa. But in the image that was presented to us, after ihapak ang pinggan sa ulo sa mama, so nabuak in town siguro no, ang plato. Naa nanabit sa iyang buhok, nagmantika iyang buhok. Ang decoration sa iyang buhok kay hibi, ang pansit ug ang repolyo. Pero wala, ingana ra gyud ang image. That's the image that was given to us. Can you imagine the woman just standing there and you as a child cannot do anything? Diin sa nagkamantika nimong danguy-ngoy, gipuga sa atong bintana ang limonsitong buwan. Oh, it was evening. Have you seen the full moon? In the old houses, in the Filipino old houses, you would see the open window. Behind it is the moon, perhaps a full moon. Looking on it, you could be so dreamy. But how can you be so dreamy if instead of very sweet music, a very relaxing music, the cry, the whimper of a woman you love is all that is playing in the background? And when he said, when the child said, gipuga sa atong bintana ang limonsitong buwan. Di ba? Ang samad, the wound, when you put some lemon on it, it would throb. You will get used to the pain, but then it would really throb. The physical pain is there. And when it is gone, the scar is there. But then the emotional feeling is left. And then when it says, ang limonsitong buwan, so instead yung makita nimo ang bulan, ang katsada sa bulan, the child could only imagine, could only think of the woman. But why is this like this? Can you imagine the violence? Can you feel the pain of the woman? Can you feel the pain of the child? It's different perhaps when we're reading just a work, but I think it is also different, completely different, when you see the woman you love, like your mother, being hit by someone that you love as well. And yet, as a child, you cannot do anything. The poem will tell us, therefore, that the Pansit, our beloved Pansit, could tell us a lot about the socioeconomic status also of someone. It would tell us perhaps the mother is cooking Pansit at all times because that's the only thing that her money can afford. It's very cheap. The cheapness of the sagol or of the ingredients. Tambok lang sa ginisang baboy, dili gyud ang baboy, and then hibi. Instead of having the fresh shrimp, you have the hibi, which is a lot cheaper than the fresh shrimp. And then, wala na gali carrots. It only has cabbage, no? Does not have carrots, does not have the sweet pea, just that. So we would end up asking, is poverty this really painful? How much can poverty hurt? In the recent pandemic that the world is facing, how much are we sacrificing? How much are we willing to sacrifice as a person? And then we ask, what is my mother willing to sacrifice for me? And although here the father was the one who had hit the mother, we could also ask the question in reality, what will my father do for me? Perhaps with the poem, we would see that we all have different fears, we have different terrors, we have different threats, we have different personal horrors. But then, our speaker, the child, have shown to us that one of the deepest wounds that could ever cut a child is the pain of a disintegrated family, as pushed by many reasons, but foremost in our poem, poverty. Our poem have shown that indeed there are a lot of pains every individual has to go through. In this food poetry, we were given a journey or a visit to a not so very distant past. But this not so distant past is still lingering or still being harbored by our speaker. Perhaps, yes, as I've mentioned earlier, the pains, especially when caused by people we love, do not necessarily have to go so soon. Furthermore, with the food poetry that we have, We could just imagine the pain and the sorrow and the sacrifices one can do for the sake perhaps of peace, for the sake perhaps of love, for the sake perhaps of just staying for that speaker, the little child. I hope you have enjoyed our poem, and I would also hope that you would get to like more Cebuano poems written by, of course, Filipino poets. There are a lot of enjoyable poems that would actually tell us of how one feels and how it mirrors how the world go round. With us on it, with us without it, with us on the side, with us on the center. With this, I hope to see you next time. Have a good day. Daghang salamat. Ayo-ayo mo.